Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Robyn Silverman, Child and Teen Development Specialist and the host of the How to Talk to Kids About Anything podcast. And as somebody who focuses on conversations with kids, I did get a lot of questions today about how to talk to kids about what happened yesterday at the Capitol building. And before I get into how we do talk to kids about this, I want to say that this was scary and upsetting for a lot of people. So I want to acknowledge that we're all having feelings about this, and that's okay. You can be scared, you can be frustrated, you can be angry, you can be sad, all of those feelings at once. What we do want to make sure is that we are thinking about how our kids are receiving the information as well, because it's coming in from all angles. So let's start there. Number one, we want to make sure that we have reputable news sites that are on in our house if we are watching something, but also be aware that young children are best when they receive information straight from you. A lot of them don't need to know anything about this. As children are getting older and they do want to know more information and they are watching information, you want to make sure that they're getting the information that is accurate and actually showing what's truly happening. So there are charts that show what news stations are biased and which ones are not. And I would encourage you to take a look at that if you do have information on. You know your child best. So if they're receiving information from news stations and you know that they're going to be really anxious by it, they're going to be affected by it in a very negative way, it may be best that you shut that stuff off and just talk to them. Make sure that you're answering their questions. Answer their questions that they're asking in a factual way, in a frank way. Also knowing that you know your kids best and the way that they can receive information. If you don't know the answer, make sure that you just look it up or say, I'm going to get back to you, because you don't want to give them false information. And in answering their question, a lot of the time, parents and people who love their children very much wind up answering a question with so much more information than is needed or can even be consumed. So make sure that your child is getting the answer that they need, and you don't need to go on and on. Answer their question and then let them answer or ask follow-up questions, and they'll get it in short clips. Understand that this may be over several days. You don't need to sit down and give them a monologue about what's going on. You might want to be prepared for questions of like, what exactly happened? Why do you think this happened? What made this person or these people do this? How did the police respond? Could that happen to me? And that's where it really becomes personal, right? Because kids are going to be very nervous when they see the government's house essentially get infiltrated with people. They're going to see people scaling walls. They're going to see people breaking windows. And it's easy to then equate that to their own existence. So could that happen to our house or our government in our small town? And you want to be prepared for that and be able to say, look, we have these things put into place so that it doesn't happen. We are talking about a very rare situation that happened yesterday. We are talking about something that happened in DC. Let me show you that on the map. And this is where we are. We're also talking about something that is now in the hands of the law and people are on it. The adults are dealing with it and they're doing what they need to do to keep us safe. So you can answer them. And again, if you aren't sure exactly what's being done, you want to look that up and get back to your children. That's okay to say, I don't know, and let me look that up. You want to also leave room for you asking questions. That's a really great tactic. So Maybe you might ask, what would you do if you were in a situation like this where other people wanted to break into a building and maybe you didn't? Or what would you do if you were really angry about the outcome of a contest and felt like you wanted people to know how angry you were? What do you think about what happened yesterday? So you can throw it back to them and ask those questions. You also want to connect it with character. So we're always, as parents, trying to teach our kids to do the right thing when it comes to responsibility or sportsmanship, respect. A lot of these things came up yesterday, leadership. So you can ask questions and have conversations about how people need to be as leaders in these types of situations, how people need to be in contests in your eyes when somebody wins or somebody loses, what you need to do to take responsibility when you do go into somebody's home, the government's home in that case, but when they go into somebody else's home because you want to equate it to their experience, or what you would do in a situation when you are on a ball field and somebody wins and somebody loses and you didn't agree. So equating it to their regular life is a really great way of opening up that conversation and then going back to what happened yesterday so that they can have a way of understanding what happened from their perspective. And I would also just say, and I'm in this situation too, that if you're still feeling really upset or unsettled about what's going on, make sure you're talking about it with a friend or a spouse or a parent, because this is upsetting to a lot of people. I'm going out to lunch with a friend of mine, and I'm sure we are going to be discussing it because it is upsetting. But you don't want to be unpacking all of this with your kid, because when you're extremely emotional and still unpacking it, that's really adult stuff. The kids need you to be more of that sounding board. You can absolutely express that you're upset or saddened or angry, but instead of unloading the information that really is better off for adults, you want to reserve that for your fellow adults. And finally, I would say you want to make sure to get some sleep and some rest. I know people talk about self-care all the time, but I think this was a really big blow to all of us, given that we've been through a really hellish year, and all of these things, one on top of another, can really wear away at our centers. So not to be all woo-woo, but it does. So make sure you're taking care of yourself in every way that you can, so that we can take care of our kids, right? So that we are in a position to answer their questions. And you know what? If you're not in a position to answer their questions, be the bridge to somebody who can. Maybe your spouse or your friend or your family member might be somebody who can help and answer questions for your children while you're sort of still trying to figure it all out. And that's okay too, okay? We don't have to do this all alone. And I want to be here for you. So if you have questions, please ask them. I definitely don't know all the answers. I'm your fellow human, your fellow mom, and your fellow child development specialist. And I do really feel like it's important to talk to kids about tough topics. So keep coming back and we'll talk about everything that we can. We've gone over so many different topics together. I'm here for you and I am so with you. I really get it. And if you think back and you realized, oh, I kind of messed that up and I've already tried to have this conversation and I tanked it. I've done that before too. You can go back and do it again. you can go back to your kid and say, you know, you asked me a question yesterday about what was happening with the Capitol building, and I don't think I answered it really the way that I would like to. So can we talk about that again? All right, you can always go back. Parenting is the ultimate do-over, as I always say. All right, this is Dr. Robyn Silverman, and I look forward to talking to you again. Bye, everyone.